Growing up, one thing was popular. When you listen to elders, they will tell you mgbe gboo, back in the day, if you do some certain things or you act in a certain way, that the ancestors are going to rise up against you. That Ajani is going to rise up against you. Asị gị na Ajani ga-etigbu onye aka ya na-adịghị ọcha. But nowadays, it's as if we are waiting for Ajani to, fight these evil men and evil women, and nothing is happening. Now, I give reasons. One of the reasons is that collectively we have abandoned the spiritual foundations that holds us together as a community, as a people. We've abandoned them. We've desecrated them. We've even destroyed the shrines that our ancestors used as a spiritual gatekeepers to these things. So we shouldn't even expect them to even come to our aid. Our people will tell you that onye kpọọ bụ ya mkpọkọrọ, ụmụaka ejiri ya wee mere ihe egwuregwu. You cannot say that your own is useless and expect it to be useful to you. If you want your own to be useful, you should look at it and say, you are useful to me. Then once you call that in and say you are useful, it will become useful. Now, currently, we see people now coming back to reinstitute these things, and we hope that we start reaping the benefits of returning back to our culture. Now, something happened in Nsukka where two men killed a baby girl that lived very close to them because a Dibia told them to bring a virgin to be used as an activator for their Arabinago. Arabinago. Now, in Angolo, a Dibia was even about to kill a woman and two kids in order to increase the efficacy of his shrine. Young men and young women are now proudly using human parts for wealth manifestation charms. Some of them know, some of them are not don't know. But to hear them involving themselves in all those charms, okite, ibobo, and other things that they think is going to manifest wealth for them. Now, what they are doing is that they are accumulating karmic debts, destroying their lives and that of the next generation. Because at the end of the day, you're going to meet whatever you're looking for. You're going to, reap the benefits. People will tell you, ime njo, ega anara warrior, ime oma, ime forma, ega kwanara warrior. Now, some of us may even ask, if ordinary is so sacred, how is it that some of these dibias can actually perpetuate these kinds of evil? And how come they do it following some cultural principles, and yet Ajani has not risen against them? Now, the simplest answer here is that some people will see a person with okay, the person would rub white chalk, or the person is holding white chalk, or the person is holding a staff, and somehow we conclude that this person is a dibia. Now, for a dibia to be called a dibia, the dibia has to fall under the stewardship of Ndi dibia. The person has to obey the laws and so norms that guides and guards the stewardship of the dibia. Now, when this person is going outside of these required principles, then that person is no longer a dibia. Just that we don't really have any word to say, okay, just say, well, we just basically say, Onyabo Ajo dibia. You're just putting like a prefix, but there is no one singular word that we use to differentiate the two. So you just hear people ndidibia, ndidibia, ndidibia. So it's as if they are, tramping all the individuals that practice, the dibiaship into one derogatory negative box. Now, to here is my response to this question. Now, first of all, we no longer cherish things that our ancestors left for us. So it's an error if we begin to expect those spiritual foundations to come to our rescue. It's a huge error. Our people will say, "Onye kpọọ bụ ya mkpọkọrọ, ụmụaka ejiri ya wee mee ihe egwuregwu." When you say that your own is useless, your own is stupid, your own does not worth it, then you would see children mishandling and misusing things that you are supposed to, benefit from. Onye kpọọ bụ ya mkpọkọrọ, ụmụaka ejiri ya wee egwuregwu. You cannot say that this thing is stupid and useless and expect it to come to your aid when you need it. So it's that's my first response. Now my second response here is that natural laws come in pairs, following the principles of duality. Therefore, the knowledge of good and evil, or good and bad, is readily available for anyone who cares to learn. We call these people on the Sata. Now, these dibias that we look here now, a dibia, for somebody to be a dibia, the person has to be naturally born with the talent of our dibia. It's a natural God-given talent, God-given gift to you as an individual. Now, for some other people, they would go and apprentice and learn about, the things that a dibia knows. So sometimes they call them on the Sata. On the I think the most appropriate word is nwa dibia. Nwa dibia, onye gbara boy n'aka ndị dibia. Now the third group are people that basically go to a a foreign village community, and sometimes even go to a foreign land to bring in something that has no bearing to ndị Igbo. We call these people and then Sata. Sometimes it could be a deity that they would bring. Sometimes it could even be charms that they would bring and set it up and you will now think, this person is a dibia, whereas this person is just a witch doctor camouflaging as a dibia. So we now know here that these natural laws, they exist. Now the thing here that is that we sometimes look at these systems from a Christian perspective of good versus evil. That's not the ancestral perception. What we understood is good and evil. Good exists, evil exists. All of them depend on who is engineering each outcomes. So when we look at natural laws that comes with pairs, it exists as having the knowledge of good and having the knowledge of evil. It is there. It is what it is. So it is not nature's duty to um to parrot or to basically control what we do. But the only thing there is that at the end of the day, each of the things that we do, it is there waiting for us. Now the second response I'm giving here is that we have species of spirits that can be good or can be bad, and they can attach themselves to any individual and can be malignant and they can be benevolent. It is what it is. These malignant entities can plague an individual, but for those that seek it out, it would readily give you an illusion of success and fulfillment while subjecting you to the worst form of consequences at the end of the day. So it is just there. It is basically ordinary is just if onye chọrọ ka ọ ga-afụ. What you look for, that is what you're going to find. If you look for something that is good, pure, you're going to see it. If you look for something that is, malignant, evil, bad, you're going to find it. You are the social engineer. The whole thing revolves around you and what you intend to use them for. Now, we also talk about ancestors that lived shamelessly and wickedly. Some were buried and some were not even buried. And in that case, couldn't reincarnate. Now, that very dispensation makes them the inhabitants of all manner of wickedness. So when they are not being sorted or when you sort them out, they lend their energy and also demand the highest form of wickedness as compensation. The same way we call on our Ndichie. When somebody wants to engage in some not Igbo authentic Igbo rituals and rites, these are the kinds of ancestors, the kind of spirits that they are going to basically talk to. Because we cannot always glamour and say our ancestors were good. No, some of them were the worst people on earth. They were terrible. So we should always take cognizance of that fact. Now, what they do here now is that when somebody wants to do one kind of a bad charm or bad jazz, the person goes in communication with those kinds of ancestors because that's what they can be able to give you. They cannot give you what they don't have. Now, truth here is that in ordinary, whatever you look for, like I said earlier, that's what you're going to get. That is what you would get because you are the epicenter of your life and your destiny. You're twisting your fate to any direction and accumulating one kind of karmic debt or the other. So you're just the social engineer here. You're directing things the way you want it to be, knowingly or unknowingly. But all those things exist as it is. But you are the external factor that influences the direction these things are going to take. Now, sadly, we cannot determine when the universe will come to collect such debt. For some people, you can do something now, and Ajan would rise up against you immediately. But for some people, after how many years they are still alive, and you're wondering when would this person die? So sadly, we cannot determine when the universe would come to collect such debt. And people who engage in some of these activities, especially the Ajodibia, are aware of what is waiting for them. They are even aware on how to, maneuver the consequences attached to it. That's why sometimes you would see go to a Dibia's place and the person would have like an exotic animal. An exotic animal. Now, if something bad is coming, it would first of all take out that animal or any livestock. So some of them have a way of maneuvering the punishment attached to it. But at the end of the day, it is still going to catch up with you. Now, while the Ajodibia knows all these things, you as a young man or you as a young woman, are you even aware that such Kamanic debt will be paid eventually? You're going to pay, especially with this our newfound curious of looking towards ordinary or will mainly to manifest wealth. At the end of the day, that whatever comes out of that thing is somewhere waiting for you. It's waiting for you. It could be, rendering your children, your generation useless, making them to be promiscuous, or it could make you to be barren or infertile, but it is just going to catch up with you. And these are experienced facts. We're not here, well, one thing about ordinary is that we are not here trying to give you some mythical illustrations that you cannot research or you cannot have any evidence to. It happens. There are families that are under lock and key because of what one of their ancestors did, and they cannot change their reality no matter how hard they try. Maybe one person in their generation is going to break the cycle when nature feels that she has basically asserted her position and she has punished the family enough. But at the end of the day, these things are going to catch up in one way or the other. Now, when I also look at Ajani Itibu Mad, now and I also kind of cross-reference it with some of the Igbo creation myth or origins that I know. One of them says that when humans were being created, the first human was being created, or when our first ancestors came into interaction with entities that we refer to as Abara, they had an aspect of them called Omo Abara, which they were charged or taxed with one job: to aid the human race in developing and guiding them onto such a time where they are able to stand on their own. Now, it's a myth. I cannot verify it, but it is a myth. Now, until such a time where they are able to stand on their own and can basically handle their affairs on their own. So then in those days, we had a close knit society as at that point. So I guess to me, I would just say that's when Ajani, all those things were extremely potent and effective. They were very much effective. Now, currently, because we are now able to stand on our own in regards to having a police force, having law enforcement agencies that handles some of these things, it's now as if they are relegating those jobs to us as humans handling these affairs individually. So that's what it is, and I hope you learned one or two things today and understand that we are the social engineers determining if something is going to be good or if something is going to be bad. So until next time, Until next time, ya gazie. Daalụnụ.